1 in 3 persons in the nation now is a minority. So this changes the landscape. This is real. 1 in 3 persons now is a minority. Now, this is my favorite slide. Well, they're all my favorite slides, but this is my most favorite of the favorite. This shows, and this is going to change the dynamic of your DMAs. What does it show? This shows the top 20 most populous states in the nation. And what's in parentheses is the increase in the minorities from the 2000 census to date. And as you can see, that's a real big deal. And you can see what, now look at that. California and Texas are now what? Majority minority states. But look, Florida, as you can see, the reason I have a star by Florida, not because I was born there, not because I moved back there, not because we have great weather like California, but because we reported on December 23rd that Florida has now become the 3rd largest state. It is larger than the state of New York. So Florida's population has grown to 19.9 million, and New York is 19.7. New York is growing, but not at the rate of Florida. Florida is growing at a rate of 803 people per day. I don't know whether I should buy some land down there and start building some buildings so people can have some housing. I'm researching that now. Absolutely. But as you can see, look at the rate of the minority growth in these states, even states where you don't even think about it. No, when I always ask the question before I show this slide, who has a larger minority population, Florida, Georgia? Everybody says, oh, that's easy, Florida. As you can see, that's not true. As you can see, Georgia has a larger minority population than the state of Florida. So now, and look at places where you wouldn't even think about the growth in the minority population. The only place it is shrank has been in New Jersey, and they're starting to go back up. It was 3.3% drop, but in the last 2 years, the minority population is starting to gain some ground. But as you can see, this shows California is 61% minority, Texas is 56%, Florida is nearly 44%, New York is 43%, Illinois is more than 37%, Pennsylvania, all the way down. These are the 20 most populated states. And look at the impact of the minority communities. If you would like to know what minorities are in these states, I have those slides too, I didn't bring them today. Call me, write me, and you get them. So how does that impact the two of you, the multi-generational households? Because I know that they're, even within their clans, within the family structure, that are just different and have a big impact.
Well, I mean, it's the same like I had mentioned before. It's still, the TV, it's still a more family experience in Spanish language TV in multi-generational households. And there are, Hispanics do have larger household sizes than the U.S. average. So, it keeps them, it still maintains that family feel. I mean, I don't know about you guys.
I think in the Asian culture, it's exactly the opposite of what you said. When you turn 18, it's not like get out of the house. It's like you're going to live in our house, and you're going to go to school, and you're going to get 4.5 and get into the best university, and then become a doctor, engineer, or lawyer. Now it might be changing. Now they're like, I've heard of this Silicon Valley thing, and I think that even within that, I know that within at least the Korean Americans, after the parents get older, they all move back home. So it's the reverse. So I think you're right that especially in the Asian households, they tend to live within many generations will live in one household. And it's not abnormal for a 25-year-old millennial to still live with their parents after graduating from a great university and still be working full-time. So it's not uncommon at all.
Well, I always take a pulse. I can look out the window of my house, and there's a Chinese couple that lives 2 doors down. My mother's an original owner in the subdivision. They're original owners. All their kids are still at home. All the black families' kids have to visit. And the white families' kids have to visit. The Hispanics this is just my block. The Hispanic families, most of their kids are still there. The ones who are not there, away at school. But the white and the black family, they have to come over. And I'm just saying, when they come over, I have to bring the stats out all the time. You come to my house, Super Bowl, I have stats on everything. And so we want to look at the stats. So do the stats actually mirror the actuality? in it. I want to know, we talk about millennials, the younger group, and I can remember when I was young like that. Good memories. And how do they, in a multi-generational household, what influence do they have? Because we're looking at that now for the 2020 census, and we're going to an internet census where you can just do your census on the internet for 2020. So we're looking at how do we get folk to go on the internet and do their census without us sending a questionnaire to them. And I'm proposing, based on the numbers, that we should use millennials as the influences in this. How do you guys see that?
But will these millennials, though, won't be millennials for the next?
Absolutely, but we're starting with them now because we're starting now in our test censuses.
Well, you even have to worry about the younger generation because they don't leave. I have one of those at home, and they don't leave their phones or their computers. So, do you want to?
I think, so this is, I think, not just in an Asian household, I think this is across the board a U.S. household family. So if you have a child between the age of, 8 to 22, let's say, staying at home, I think that you, more often than not, are watching maybe something on TV, and they probably have their Beats by Dre headphones in and watching something on the iPad, on the laptop, they're playing on the phone. They're not really even paying attention to the big screen. Or they're playing Candy Crush or whatever the new hot game is this year. And I don't think that I've ever walked into a household with a millennial in it where they're not on some sort of device, whether it's a mobile, laptop, or iPad. And I think more and more you're watching multi-device, and they could be watching completely something totally different, and there could be different kids watching something different, and the parents maybe get the TV. And a lot of millennials I know out of college that, because we have a lot of young kids that work in our company that they don't even understand why would you ever get cable. Like, it doesn't even make sense. And the price is too high. You can't watch. They want TV everywhere at their time, and they want to search, so they have a little bit of ADD watching, where they'll watch something for 15 minutes and switch. So a lot of it's becoming more conducive for short form programming, and they want something new and different. They're the early adopters. They want something that nobody else knows of, and they want to be the first to discover. So they're all about discovery. And I think that it's moving more and more towards that. And I do believe that that's why a lot of this sort of different content that's coming from Asia that is, like, I couldn't believe Psy became popular in the US and it broke the YouTube counter because it was watched so many times. And you're seeing more and more shifts like that happen. And I think that's starting to influence what our generation, the maybe slightly older, more mature generation are watching, influenced by what the millennials are bringing in and making popular.
Yes.
Even just stepping away so much from, the ethnicities. I had a very different experience with a young millennial woman on my team. As soon as she moved out of her parents' house, she went and got cable. It's like, she's 23 years old. I think, when they're young, they never think they're going to get cable for those reasons. Why should I spend so much? I only watch YouTube. I only do this. I only have Netflix. It's enough. But sure enough, they move out. The money's not great, so they can't go out every Friday night. Oh my God, I have to watch something. So they get their basic cable. I think that's what happens. And I also, and this is just because it's, again, away from the ethnicities, it's just such a passion point for me, is that younger generation. I think because I'm witness it, I have a 13-year-old daughter, they don't leave those screens. They don't watch TV, and it's like this, and I wanted to change my Twitter handle, so what do? I text my daughter, and she's like, I'll tell you later. I'm like, oh, thanks. I'm both terrified and fascinated, being in this industry, of what's going to happen next, and I really hope we start focusing on, as an industry, on that a little bit more.